What's going on, everybody? Today I want to do a Marvel Rivals tier list based on the characters that I have played from the closed beta, and this is obviously taking place after the closed beta is over, so I'm glad I was able to get a code, from a special someone. I won't be talking about them here, but I will be doing more Marvel Rivals content later on, even after the beta is over. I do have a Thor video that by the time of me recording this has not released yet because I still need to do the thumbnail and all that. So before we get started into this tier list, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and like this video, so that way not only that it will help me inspire me to make more content for you guys, but to also make sure that you guys do not miss on any single video like this in a weekly basis. I think that's gonna be the catchphrase from now on. All right, anyway, so we got so far this is not the correct tier list, and I say why, because Thor and Jeff are not added. So I'm gonna be right back. All right, so we are officially back with the actual list, and this has Thor and Jeff added in. So I think I did this before, or actually, no, I can't say I think, because I did do this before, but the problem is that my microphone wasn't working and my face cam was covering the tier list. So this time my face cam is going to be over here and you can actually see everything from this one. So this is not going to be your typical tier list, I should say, but much rather for characters that I personally think are either fine, are very good with synergies, they could be better, definitely needs buffs, or just needs a huge overhaul / tune-up, in my opinion. Now again, you don't have to agree with this list. This is basically all the stuff and the characters that I tested from the beta. So again, don't take this as like the definitive list. I mean, again, if you are a person who did play Marvel Rivals, let me know if this list is really accurate for you, or do you think it could be better, or do you think it's trash? I mean, either way, this is all the characters that I played from the beta recently, and I definitely think that could either be balanced enough, or I think who are either balanced enough, or could be very good with synergies, and some of them just needs buffs in general. So first things first, we're gonna go against the Hulk, and to me, he was one of the biggest disappointments coming from this beta, because the thing about Hulk is that, okay, let me put him back over here. The thing about Hulk is that he has synergies with Iron Man and Doctor Strange. He has Iron Man and Doctor Strange synergies. For Iron Man, he gives them a gamma overdrive buff, which does like gamma damage. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter, because even if you don't have the synergy with Iron Man with Hulk, he still does the same, if not he still does, or Iron Man still does the exact same damage as his original thing does with the drone, or with the cannons and all that. So there's not really much of a change there. I don't really see the point of using Doctor Strange. I mean, I guess for Doctor Strange it's different, because it converts his darkness with healing, so he can still heal while he has the darkness effect buff going on around him. But the thing is that you can't really use it unless if like you're just trying to release energy or do damage, because the thing is about Doctor Strange is that he's both a defender and a push or an advancer. Like, he has that shield. So the thing is about Hulk is that I just do think that he just needs a tune-up. I think, like, I don't think he just needs a buff. I think it's just that, or no, maybe he doesn't need a tune-up. I think it's just personally that, in my opinion, Hulk just desperately needs a damage buff, because even his ultimate attack does not do any damage. Like, yeah, you can get killed by it, but only from like with low health, or you pick somebody with low health. But even then, if you have a healer right next to that person while they're doing an ultimate attack, they can just heal through that. So yeah, he can't take any damage while he's doing that ultimate move, but it doesn't really do that much damage in the process. And his second ability, which is the one that he screams at the person and then you just go to exile, you can't really hit him, which is so interesting because there are characters like Scarlet Witch who stun you in place but you can still get hit. There's characters like Luna Snow who freeze you in place and can still get hit. There are people like who else like for the people who have AoE effect that can stun the character, like Mantis, for example. Mantis has that sleeping thing and you can still get hit while she has that sleep on you. And then you have Groot, which is one of his ultimate abilities, that it's immobilized and you can still get hit by it. So if anything, I don't know why Hulk didn't get the same treatment as these other characters, because they should have the same functions. And when it comes to the Hulk, is that, yeah, he's a good defender, but he hardly like does anything good. Like, yeah, you can get kills with him, but ultimately it just comes down to damage wise. And personally, I just do think he just needs a damage buff. It doesn't have to be a huge damage buff, but it needs to be a buff to the point where he can actually be usable and not just be useless just to advance to the objective, because that's really all he is. So honestly, I would say probably Bruce Banner / the Hulk definitely needs a buff. And when I say huge tune-up, it's not a bad list, but it's like something that, like, okay, I think they can retool their kits a little more, you know? So there goes Hulk there. So again, this is like S tier, A tier, B, C, and definitely D, but not like a bad D. Pause. a good D. No Diddy. Okay, let me focus. No Diddy. All right, next up is Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange is perfectly balanced in my opinion. He's pretty much the most balanced character out of the entire cast. He has great health, has a shield, he has a good ultimate. It's not a great ultimate because it just stuns him and pays for just a few seconds. I would say that I guess the only gripe about him I have is that his reload time is a little more slower than the others. But honestly, like literally he's the perfect package. Pause. As in, he has great shielding, he has good health, his synergies with Iron Man and, you know, Hulk. He has some good damage wise, and he has flight, which you can use. He has a shield, and he can create a portal to, like, outflank the other opponent, the opposition, or just to like get to the objective as like fast as you can. And yeah, while it does have a 2-minute cooldown, it is super worth it, especially for characters that have very slow mobility to get to the objective. So really, Doctor Strange is pretty much one of the most balanced characters in the game. Groot is, I didn't really try Groot in the beta because I thought he was just basically like more of a bruiser. I mean, actually, wait, hold on. Let me add a row. Yeah, let me add a row here. So let's say needs a nerf. Let's say that. Not a huge nerf. So I'm gonna add another row into this list. Needs a nerf. So yeah, I do think that Strange is perfectly balanced. Hulk definitely needs a buff. Groot, personally, I don't really think he needs a nerf at all. I think he's just fine, you know? I don't really think he's special. Like, he's a good like person when it comes to like, you know, creating branches and having a synergy with Rocket, where he can like, you know, attach him on his back with Jeff the Shark. I mean, he doesn't really do anything, but you know, it's like a nice like Easter egg, you know. But I do think that Groot is fine, but I do think that he could be better damage wise, just a little bit of a damage tuning. I think his ultimate is pretty good. I just do think that overall Groot is just like the middle ground for me. Yeah, I don't really have much about Groot. I didn't play him in the beta, but I've seen how people play him. So he's fine to me. I think he could be better though, but I think he's fine. Next up is Venom. Now, Venom is one of the strongest highlights from this closed beta. I've seen a lot of people get MVPs with him. I've seen a lot of people get kills. His ultimate doesn't really do that much of damage, but I do think that is really interesting about Venom is that he is basically like a better version of Thor. And that's what I personally think that Venom needs a nerf. And when I say Venom needs a nerf, I'm not saying that he's not easy, he's not hard to beat. He is pretty like simplified. The problem is that he just generates way too much health when especially when it's in low health. Because the thing is about Venom is that if you're in low health, you'll generate more bonus health with his symbiotic armor. I think that's what it's called. I forgot what it was called. I do think that that Venom needs a nerf per se. Not like a huge nerf, but a nerf enough to the point where he doesn't feel so like you have to have him on his team, because there's plenty of other characters you've been playing in this game, and mostly 90% of the time you will see a Venom in a game. Rarely in my playthroughs I don't see a Venom in my game. So I do think that Venom just overall needs a nerf. The only biggest problem about Venom is that, like, yeah, he's really good on his own, but his synergies suck. Literally, like, it does, like Spider-Man with the Spider-Man and the Penny Parker synergy, they're just straight booty cheeks, but they don't do no damage. They got pushback. You don't even know if you're hitting them or not. It's just that, like, they made him so good on his own, but his synergies suck, you know? I just don't really see a lot of people using Spider-Man without Venom. And without Venom, Spider-Man is useless, which we will get into later. But I'm just saying, like, I just do think that Venom just needs a nerf on his own. Doesn't have to be a huge nerf, but just a nerf enough to where that he's much more like, you can use it if you want, but he's not like required, you know, to, like, you know, win games. Magneto. I do think that Magneto, I could put him in a perfectly balanced spot. I do think that he does suffer from areas though, because without his synergy with Scarlet Witch, he's kind of like a more worse version of Doctor Strange. So I'm gonna say that he's working good with the synergies with Scarlet Witch, because when you do get a synergy with Scarlet Witch, is that you can basically have a sword that does tons of damage, like that has like a slash effect from far away, but does super amounts of damage up close. That's why that Magneto really only works with the Scarlet Witch synergy, because I don't really want, that's the reason why Magneto really works, because again, he can still be good. Like, he has a shield, he has good health, he's basically like Strange. It's just that without the synergy, he's just good, you know? He's very good with synergies, but he's just fine. Because, like, again, if it wasn't if there was no synergies in this game, he would pretty much be in this list. But for the sake of it, we're gonna put Magneto in the very good with synergies part. So Thor. So here's the thing about Thor. Thor is what I would say the most mixed character in this whole beta, because I've heard some people say that he sucks, some people say that he needs a damage tune-up, some people think that he just needs an overall like damage overhaul, like he's a Vanguard, like, you know, and Vanguards only really help to push the enemy back so that way the rest of your teammates can advance. But I've seen people get MVPs with him, I've seen people get kills, and even in my past gameplays with him on my videos, which go check it out, by the way, I've gotten pretty good kills with them too. Like, again, they're not like very close games, but there were games that, you know, I like mostly all like the characters except mostly Thor with the exception of other people pretty stand out pretty wise. So in my opinion, I don't think Thor needs a nerf. I don't think he's perfectly balanced. I do think that he could be very good for synergies, because again, he has a Hela and Loki synergy where every time when Thor dies but then Hela gets a kill, he gets resurrected by a green Thor hammer. Without you know, going into detail on that, because again, it's in the beta. I don't know what the Loki synergy does, to be honest. I didn't really get that far when it comes to reading, but all I know is that the Hela synergy was really good. I mean, again, I can't really put him in very good with synergies because like 1/2 of the synergies actually work for him. So I'm gonna say he's probably gonna be in this list. Fine, but could be better. Because again, I don't think Thor is bad. I do think he has tons of potential. I do think that just personally, it's just that the more you use him, the more you're going to get kills with them. It's just that I can't really see somebody And like the thing is that he only has a 2-star difficulty, which I don't really agree with. I do think he should at least be 3-star, because again, like it takes a while for you to figure out Thor and how he works with, like, you know, the Odin Force, and then, you know, the bubble thunder shield that he has, and especially his ultimate just needs a bit of a damage tuning. But overall, I mean, I think that Thor is fine, you know, like he's not super special, but he's not bad either. So I'll probably just put Thor in the fine category. Like, he's fine, but he could be so much better. So next up is Penny Parker. Penny Parker, in my opinion, I can't say she needs a nerf because I don't really see a lot of people use her. I don't think she's perfectly balanced because she does have like weak AoE. I mean, what the greatest stuff about her is that, you know, you can pop out mines, and the mines do really good damage. I can't say she really works good in synergies because the only synergy she has is with Venom, and I already talked about that. I can't really put her in the fine category list because, again, it does take a bit of difficulty to use her. She doesn't need a buff per se. I think personally she just needs a bit of a tune-up, just a huge tune-up, so that way she's more competent with the other ones. Again, this part right here, this needs a tune-up, is not a bad category. The bad category, quote unquote, is the definitely needs a buff. This one is the bad category. So let's just switch these up. So needs a tune-up, so that way it doesn't get confusing. And then this one would be definitely needs a buff. There. So let's just switch these two here. So yeah, there you go. So I think that Penny Parker just needs a bit of a tune-up. Sometimes I did try her in the beta, but sometimes I couldn't really tell if I was getting kills with her or not, because again, she's lacking impact. I think that's like the trouble thing about some of these characters like Thor, Groot, and Penny, is that they're just lacking impact on their abilities, and you don't know if it hits hard on the other opponent or not. So again, I'm not saying Penny Parker is bad. It's just that personally think she needs a tune-up for me. So next up is the Punisher. The Punisher, I'm gonna say, is very good with synergies. And I think he only has one with Rocket, where if Rocket has like some type of ammo capsule, Punisher gets like unlimited ammo and you don't really have to reload. I mean, again, it's only for like one area, so you have to like stay in range with that terminal. But overall, I do think that Punisher, he's not balanced. He's basically like the Soldier 76 of this game from Overwatch. So personally, I do think that Punisher is very good. I do think he's very good. Again, he doesn't really have that good survivability. His ultimate does like a ton of damage, but the thing is that the only problem with his ultimate is that when you have people like Luna Snow, or people who give people shields or bonus damage, or has a lot of like fast regenerative abilities, the ultimate is kind of useless in some places. But I do think that I was about to say Storm because we're gonna get into her later. I do think that the Punisher is really good with synergies with Rocket. I don't know if he has any other synergies. I didn't really look that far into the beta, so I would say he's pretty fine. I think he's probably like the better version of Magneto because he's more easier to use, but he's not like the greatest or anything. Next up we have Storm. I didn't really try Storm in the closed beta either, but I've seen people get MVPs. I've seen people get kills with her. Her tornado attack does tons of damage, and it has a ton of armor buff, or it has a ton of armor, especially during animation. She's basically kind of like, you know, the more like accuracy version of Iron Man, where you need to be more precise on how you're gonna hit. And she does have a good speed boost. She also has a good AoE of effect, but it does take some difficulty to use her. I do think that she does have a synergy with Thor, where it's like it does like double damage on her lightning or something like that. I mean, again, I do think that she could be very good with synergies. I'm gonna place her near Magneto for the sake of it, because again, like, I don't really see a lot of people using Storm in the closed beta, and I can't really like make an actual opinion on him. So Yeah, I just think that Storm is perfectly fine the way she is. I think she's very good. I think that she's very good with synergies. Next up is Hela. I think Hela is like perfectly balanced. I think that she's more of like a better version of Doctor Strange because she does deal a ton of damage. She doesn't really have a lot of health, but that makes sense. She has a good synergy with Thor. She also has very good, I mean, I would say she has like some good like weapons, and especially her ultimate attack that has like a ton of health. She also has like a getaway option where she turns into some like little crow, or like Odin, like one of Odin's crows, and just flies away, so that way you can like retreat. I do think she has that, which is also pretty helpful. I just do think that Hela, in my opinion, she's perfectly balanced, in my opinion. I don't really have that much of issue with her, especially even if I do get killed by her. I don't really have an issue with her because that would make sense, because that's how Hela is, really. So now we get to the disappointing parts of this. I'm just saying disappointing parts. Let's talk about Black Panther. Black Panther is, in my opinion, one of the other disappointments coming off from this closed beta, because he's basically just kind of the grounded version of Spider-Man. And even if he needs, even if that Black Panther, like, I don't really think she has that much. I don't even think he has that much of good synergies either. I don't really think he has any synergies. In fact, he doesn't even have a synergy with Namor. And these two are basically nemesis to each other in the comics. So I don't know why they don't even have a synergy. That's so strange, you know? So unless if they're gonna add it in the future, I'm gonna probably say that Black Panther just needs a tune-up. I was gonna say he needs a buff, but I do think that, just personally, I don't think he needs a buff to the point where he has to get health or something like that, or needs to deal much damage. Like, no, it's just that Black Panther, in my opinion, just needs impact, and similar to Penny Parker, like, they're just missing the impact. So I do think that if Black Panther is going to get a tune-up, they just should at least just tune up his damage a lot more. So that way it just feels like I'm just doing something, you know? And especially some of his abilities don't really work, because I can't tell, like, from that spin kick that he does, you know, from other side of the opponents, they don't really, like, I can't really tell if I'm hitting them or not. And I'm just, you know, just going through places and all that. So he has a good getaway option. But just personally, I just don't think that, you know, he's that great, to be honest. So I'm not saying he's a bad character. He's just mid, you know, and that hurts, because I'm a Black Panther fan, like Wakanda forever, and he's just mid in this game. But we'll see if they change him. Next up is Magik. So Magik is supposed to be, who does she remind me of from Overwatch? Isn't she like a chick with a sword? I know she's a chick with a sword. She reminds me of one of those other Overwatch characters. I can't really tell which it was, because I have to go back into it. Probably post Jacoby might do this, or post Silent Z might do this. But again, I mean, I think Magik is fine. I think she's kind of like Thor, just with like less health. So I think she's in the fine category, but could be better. Just needs a bit of a damage tune-up. Her ultimate ability, Dark Child, is actually really cool. You know, but overall, I don't really see that much of people using Magik. She's like one of those characters that just, you know, just exists because they just need to have another duelist in their team. So it's fine, but whatevs. Next up we have is Iron Man. Now, Iron Man is a bit difficult to put in this list because he doesn't have that much of great survivability. And he does have some good damage. His maximum pulse is one of my favorites because, yeah, it is a one-time use, and yes, it could be blocked by projectiles or specifically shields from Doctor Strange and Magneto. But oh my god, like when you really hit him with the maximum pulse, like it is so satisfying. I'm not gonna say he's perfectly balanced because there are some issues with him that I do personally think they could, like, you know, tackle. or they can like, you know, fix. But I'm gonna say he's like very good, and with the synergy with the Hulk makes him even stronger because of the gamma overload. So I'm gonna say he's probably one of the like the top 5 characters in the game. Again, I could put him in perfectly balanced. Actually, I think we'll put him in perfectly balanced because he's not too hard to deal with, and he's not too, but he also, you can also have fun with him playing. So here we go. So yeah, this hurt, you know, as a hardcore Spidey fan myself, who has played almost all the games, have seen mostly all the movies, has watched the cartoons, and has seen him play on this game and having to use him since day one, I'm gonna say Spidey just needs a buff. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying he's bad. Like, he's better than Hulk, that's one thing. But just Spidey, in my opinion, he just can't really stick well with the other people in his team. I mean, yeah, you can basically hit somebody with a combo and they'll die. Because again, Spider-Man is a hit and run character. Like, you hit somebody with a combo and then you just leave. But like, is that really all that Spidey is, in my opinion? Like, is that really all he is? Like, again, I could say he needs a tune-up. It's just that I just think he just needs like a health buff. Just not like too big of a health buff, but a health buff to the point where he can basically just keep up with the other people. Like, he can't just be just a hit and run character. Like to me, that's not who Spidey is. Like, Spidey should be a person who utilizes crowd control when it comes to his shields, you know? I don't know, like, for some reason, just Spidey he just needs something to make him just usable. And even his Venom synergy is ass because you don't really like use it. You don't really use the synergy. I'm just saying, it's like the fact that they made Venom a better version of Spidey in this game just breaks my heart. Like, again, I love Venom, but like, Spidey, it's my day one boy right there, bro. And look how much they massacred my mans. So yeah, Spidey just needs a buff. I don't care what they give him, just make him useful, you know? He's just so flimsy. That's what I'm just saying. He's just so fragile, you know? Like, I get it, that's how Spidey is, but like, man, like, he just needs something, bro. But let me not get too attached by this. Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is probably going to belong in the very good synergies list with Magneto because, again, like, these two can't really work out in the other. I mean, her ultimate ability is really good. I do wish they would give you an indicator of like how big the area of effect is when she goes like pure chaos, when they do that, or when she does that. But ultimately, I do think that she's also very good with synergies, like synergy or synergies. It could be both. But yeah, that's pretty much it with Scarlet Witch. I don't really have much of an issue with her. She's a good ambusher for, like, you know, flying characters, and, you know, she has a good getaway. She can also turn invisible. But yeah, you get the point. Next up is Star-Lord. Now, Star-Lord, in my opinion, was one of the most biggest surprises that was one of the biggest surprises I had when I was playing the beta, because I did try my boy Spidey, that didn't work. I did try Iron Man. It took me a while it took me a little bit just to get used to him, but, you know, like, Iron Man's like second nature to me. Star-Lord, on the other hand, I do think that he's really annoying, but I guess that's good because he has a good, you know, ambush, like every time when you rush into the opponent, you can, you know, pop up that R1, and then he'll just be like eat elements jerks. Like, when he does that move, you can basically get some like last minute damage, especially when you add that with the jet boosters. It gives him like a good getaway option. Like, he's like another hit and run operator, but he's like more damage scaling wise, and then he chips it a lot. His ultimate ability, I would say that if it's cool when you get kills with it, but in my opinion, it's a little underwhelming because of damage wise. Like, it's not like the Punisher type of damage, but it's fine, you know. But I'm gonna say, I mean, Star-Lord really only has like one synergy with Adam Warlock, and is that ways that pretty much when you die, you get to, you know, get the cocoon effect, just what Adam Warlock does every time he dies. But it's only like a one-time use, so I can't really place it here because it's not really like a good synergy. But I do think that for the sake of Star-Lord, I think that overall, I can't say he needs a nerf. I'm just probably gonna place him like a little bit behind Iron Man, because I do think he has some good I do think he has some really good ambushing tactics. So next up we got Namor. Now I know Namor has not been used by many, and I will say that he's one of the most underrated characters that people use, because I've seen people get 50 plus kills with him. If you go to Sadat the Gamer's video about him, which I'll leave in the description, he's really good with him, and I heard it in the streams that he said that, hey, Namor is pretty underrated. So I guess I could say just Namor just needs a bit of a tune-up, really. It's just that I just do think that he just needs something to keep him occupied, maybe give him a synergy with Black Panther or something like that. So it's fine, but you know. Next up we got Loki. Loki, in my opinion, Loki's a bit tricky, no pun intended. Loki's a bit tricky because he can basically, you know, swap places with his clones. He basically just steals the other person's like abilities when he does his ultimate. And then that ultimate is already ready to go. I do think that just like Thor, he's fine, but could be better. Probably just give him a bit of like a damage buff on his, you know, his base ability. But he's fine, you know, he's fine. I would say he's like more like worse than Thor because he doesn't have that good like he does have some good survivability. It's just that it really kind of like you have to like jump in order to like, you know, stop taking damage. So I do think that he's fine, but he could be better. So we're down to the last 5 here. So we got Mantis. Mantis, I do think needs a bit of a nerf on her ultimate ability, because again, I do think her ultimate ability is a little too busted, you know, because it kind of like, you know, has an ability recharge, and it kind of leaves her a little bit invincible in some places. And then she can basically tank ultimates. I do think that they just need to nerf that just a little bit, but overall she's pretty fine. I really got nothing to say about her. Rocket, in my opinion, needs a tune-up badly, because again, I hate when Rocket, like, yeah, he's mostly there for support, but he's kind of like the worst healer version of like Luna, Adam Warlock, and Jeff the Shark combined. Like, again, he's really good with synergies with the Punisher, but like as himself on his own, I just do think he just needs a bit of a tune-up for something, so at least he can be more useful to everybody else, because I hardly see people using this character. I mean, no, that's a lie. I do see plenty of people using Rocket. I just don't see a lot of people using Rocket. Luna Snow. Luna Snow, in my opinion, is, I would say she's probably needs a nerf as well. I think both Mantis and Luna Snow pretty much have the same problem. Like, their ultimates are just a little too busted. But ultimately, like, aside from them, like, besides Mantis and Luna, like, realistically, I would probably say Luna would be very good for synergies, and Mantis would just be would pretty much be fine, but could be better. But I'm just gonna put the nerfs here just based on their ultimate attacks and like how much people have to use her. Again, they don't need to nerf her healing, just nerf her ultimate ability, not too much, but to the point where that you can advance, but that way it's not too busted to the point where the other opposite of the team, you know, doesn't have that much of an issue with her, because she can be a monster when it comes to just doing stuff on her own. Adam Warlock, in my opinion, like, I think he's very good as a healer. In my opinion, I think he just needs a tune-up, really. So I think that Adam Warlock overall just needs a tune-up. Not to say he's bad, because again, without Adam, like, again, you're gonna need a healer in your team to use her, or to use him. But ultimate Adam Warlock really just does his job. I mean, I could say he's perfectly fine, and we'll probably put him there. I think it just makes sense. I'm gonna place him behind Thor though, because I think Thor just has biggest potential, but Adam Warlock really just does his job, you know. And last but not least, we have Jeff the Land Shark. Now, Jeff the Land Shark, I have no idea where this character originated from. I have no idea if this character is from the comics or, you know, or he was in some type of video game that I missed. But overall, I do think that Jeff in this game is probably like a better healer than Rocket, in my opinion, which is kind of saying something. I do think that he's perfectly fine. I don't really have an issue with him. He doesn't have that good survivability, but he does have a good ultimate where like you can basically, you know, go on top under the surface and then just catch people by surprise, and then you can just drag them while they're doing damage while also healing your other people. Like, he can basically do both, where for the opponents he'll deal damage over time, and then if when it comes to certain maps that have ledges, he can basically just toss them all the way to the other edge and just get kills like that. But then he also has the healing ability where he can just basically heal, or let's say to get away from people from that option, you know, like, you know, just to get away from the opponent and then, you know, have your teammates being healed by that so they can be in a safer place. But yeah, that's pretty much the tier list. Again, this is a tier list that is not your typical tier list. This is a tier list that, to me, I feel like that some characters could be better. Some of them just needs a nerf. Some of them just needs a damage tune up. But they're not, I'm not saying that all of these are bad characters. Like, you can use whoever you want in this game when it does eventually get its open beta, or when it actually comes out next year. It's just that personally is that I just find some of these characters have to be relied on synergies. And some of them just don't really have anything, which is crazy. Like, the fact that both Namor and Black Panther don't really have a synergy is insane. I don't really understand why Rocket doesn't really have a synergy with Groot. Or no, he does have a synergy with Groot, my fault. I do think that Doctor Strange needs like some type of synergy with Scarlet Witch, because they're both mystics. Like, they're both like, you know, powerful magic users, which I don't understand why they don't have a synergy with one another. But yeah, and then I think Penny Parker just needs like some other synergy other with Venom, because he's just, or like maybe like a Stark type of synergy with Iron Man. Like, I don't know, it's just that I do think that the Venom synergy is pretty much one of the worst synergies in the game, because again, it doesn't really benefit Venom at all, and pretty much Penny Parker and Spider-Man just only has like one other ability that doesn't really do a lot of damage and just kind of just leaves them vulnerable. But, you know, hey, I mean, this is the closed beta. Things can change when the open beta comes out. This is basically, to me, how everything went for me in the beta. But let me know if you guys enjoy this list. Do you think it could be great? Do you think it's fine? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm a little bit too harsh on these? Do you think I'm just overall just don't have a really good a good mindset of how to use these characters? Again, I'm just happy that like closed betas like this allow for the developers to figure out the problems and the issues of this. And, you know, I mean, it's like, it's gonna get better from here, because again, they're gonna do this again. They're gonna add more characters. I heard that they're gonna have at least like 30 characters when the game officially releases. So right now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So we have like 24 characters. So they're going to actually add like 6 more. I know that Captain America is going to be in here. Most likely he's going to be a Vanguard with his shield. I've heard Black Widow is going to be in the game. I know that Hawkeye is going to somewhere be in the game again. We'll be talking about all that in the news eventually coming to the release of Marvel Rivals, and we'll just do that so on. But yeah, I really like the beta. I hope they do this again with the open beta. And I hope some of these characters can actually get changes that not only make them usable, but also just make them just better overall for the sake of teams. But yeah, that's it. post your comments down below and let me know what you think about this list. And as always, take care.